What's going on YouTube? It's Sean back with another video, and today we're going to try a little protein bar recipe. So without further ado, let's get into it. So today's recipe is going to be a protein bar with some vanilla icing, and it's going to be a raspberry flavor, but you can always change it up to a fruit that you prefer. And this is courtesy of Hannah's coworker Ryan, who didn't leave a comment in my last video, but he was sure to let her know, and he helped us move in. So shout out to Ryan. This recipe was actually done by Desir Dugan of EFXsports.com. So I'll leave a link in the description down below if you want to check this out, but I'm going to do more of a variation as opposed to the exact recipe because I'm using things around the house. So shout out to Desir, and let's get to it. This recipe is going to be a mixture of dry and wet ingredients, so we'll start with the dry ingredients first. For our dry ingredients for this recipe, we're going to be starting with whey protein, and this is going to consist of about 2.5 scoops in total, 2 for our base and 1/2 scoop for our icing. We'll also be using some sweetener. You can use any low-calorie sweetener that you would like, but we're going to use 2 tablespoons of our 0-calorie sweetener. We'll also be using about 1/2 cup of whole wheat flour, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, 2 tablespoons of arrowroot flour in order to make our icing. To begin the recipe, we're going to go ahead and preheat our oven to 350 degrees, and we're going to grab all of our dry ingredients and put those into a bowl. And we're going to mix those around so that way we have our dry ingredients nice and combined, and then we'll add all of our wet ingredients, which I'll explain in just a second. For our wet ingredients, that's going to consist of 1/3 cup of our applesauce, 2 tablespoons of our Greek yogurt, 6 tablespoons of egg whites, and 1/2 cup of raspberries. And once we have everything inside of our bowl, we're just going to mix it around so that way all of the ingredients are combined and we have a nice base for our dry ingredients to mix with our wet ingredients. Now that our wet and dry ingredients are together, go ahead and put that into your pan after spraying it with some non-stick spray, and you'll be able to cook this in the oven for about 25 minutes roughly. In order to double check the bars, be sure to have a toothpick or a fork or something to poke the middle and make sure that your batter is fully cooked. Since this does take a second to cook, we're going to go ahead and begin gathering all of our ingredients for our icing, and that's going to consist of our 3 raspberries, our cornstarch, again we're using arrowroot flour instead of cornstarch, our 2 tablespoons of almond milk, 1/2 scoop of whey protein. In this case, we're using vanilla, but you can go ahead and use whichever protein you think is going to go best with this recipe. Essentially, all we're going to do is add all of these ingredients into a mixing bowl, or in our case, a cereal bowl, mix them around, and make sure that we have a nice icing type consistency, so whenever our recipe is done, we can add the icing over top of our protein bars. Once our icing is added to the protein bars, we're going to go ahead and put those inside of the refrigerator. And once they're inside the refrigerator, we'll wait for them to cool off, and then the good part comes, we get to taste it. So it's been about an hour since I've last seen you guys. We have our bars. We have these cut into 4 because the entire thing makes like 733 calories. So if you divide that by 4, you're getting roughly like 183 calories per bar. And I will say there's a ton of volume in these. This is an 8x8 tray, so like this entire thing is the size of my head. So we're gonna go ahead and try this out and see if it's any good. Hannah's behind the camera right now, and she's gonna go ahead and do a little taste test as well. So we're gonna rate this, and if it's not good, it's gonna be a really awkward day tomorrow whenever she has to see Ryan and tell him how bad it is. All right, Hannah, you ready to try this?
Yep.
All right, let's do it. Your thoughts?
They aren't bad, but they aren't great.
Would you eat it again?
I think if the actual bar had more flavor, I would.
So it needs a little bit of working out, but overall I would say it's like a 6,
Yeah, it's pretty decent.
6 out of 10.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd say it's like a 6 out of 10.
I eat it.
It's definitely calorie dense, so that's good. I'll post the macros down here for 1 serving. And then I'll post a separate thing for the macros, and I mentioned before, for the entire recipe. And I'll say that this is super low calorie, it's a lot of volume. And I don't think it's that bad.
No.
I'd say like a 6 out of 10 is probably a solid ranking, but it's also my first time baking something like this. So that could have something to do with it. But overall, I definitely would eat it again. So that's gonna be it for today. I hope you all enjoyed today's content. If you did, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe down below. And don't forget, I do these videos every single Thursday. Please be sure to comment down below what recipes you'd like to see me make. I'll definitely be sure to do that for you. And of course, I'll be sure to shout out whoever it is that recommends the recipe. So we'll go ahead and give those a shot, and I'll see you all in the next video.